Welcome to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki, where inspiration meets action. This is your spot to grow, level up, and lead with fresh ideas. From sales to service, from frontline teams to executives, we're dropping weekly knowledge and insight to keep your store sharp, relevant, and profitable. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone. I have AJ. He is the Vice President of Research and Development at Reynolds and Reynolds, and he's the co-founder of AutoVision. Your development in AutoVision, it really opened the doors to a partnership with Reynolds and Reynolds, which also led to the creation of the R&D department. Welcome, AJ. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure to really be in the same room with somebody that is an innovator, is a person that's looking out for dealers and always trying to solve problems. And I just love tech enhancements. And together today, let's talk a little about Reynolds' newest reveal, Ray. And this is a tailored AI assistant. It's built directly into the DMS and what it really means when AI is grounded in real dealer data, real workflows, and even just real decision making. I'm curious to hear your insights and I just tell me a little bit about some of the AI noise out there and some of the things that you've seen that actually help run stores better.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the hype is real. So there's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of folks talking about what AI, can do, should be able to do, all these other things. And so there is a lot of noise. And I think at the end of the day, in any industry, automotive as much as anybody else, but in any industry, what people are worried about is actually getting their jobs done, right? And when you look at what a dealer's job is, ultimately, it's to take the best care of their customers possible, so they can sell them cars and service those cars and have a great relationship and all those sorts of things. And the dealer's job is not to use the software or to use AI or any of these other things. It's to take care of their customers. And, so as we approached it, we really looked at it with that lens of, how can we make people's lives easier rather than, there's sort of this tendency right now to say, we're just going to sprinkle some AI dust on top of it and, call it good. And
that's you see that little,
sparkly icon, right? That everybody uses for AI. It's like, oh, magic happens.
Slap it on. We're an AI company. Hello.
That's right. That's right. But what did you actually do for me that was different than what I was doing before? And we felt like it was really, really important to differentiate if we were going to bring something to market. And so, when we talk about it, like you said a moment ago, it's deeply integrated into the DMS. So Ray is actually, an agentic infrastructure. So users interact with Ray, through a chat interface that they, would be familiar with from a lot of different AI products. But what's really happening behind the scenes is a lot more than that. It's not just sort of a chatbot. What's happened is, Reynolds as an organization has leaned into this idea that we need to enable all of our products and all of our data sets, most importantly, with AI systems. And so, they actually started that process, prior to acquiring AutoVision. So before my time, with building out the Spark data layer. So really sort of looking out into the future and understanding where things were going to go. They built out this unified data layer that would allow for AI to be able to access all of the dealer's data within the ecosystem and do that in a safe way that was normalized and responsible, so that AI could really be useful. And when we went to go build the Ray infrastructure on top of that, that now says, okay, we have all of your data. We know what that looks like. We know what you're doing inside of the ecosystem. And with all of our various different software platforms, how do we enable an agent to go do the same kinds of things that you would do inside of the ecosystem, but do it for you, or do it faster, or show you how to do it so that you don't have to be an expert in every one of our tools in order to get your job done. And that's really what Ray is all about. It's all about enabling our dealers to get their jobs done faster by letting them leverage that power of the Reynolds ecosystem and the products that they use with us in a way that's as simple as just asking a question and getting an answer.
Okay, I am envisioning this and I want to understand this. And PS dealers, this is going to be a value added feature and it's complementary. But what I like about this concept is that it's integrated into the DMS, which and all the other Reynolds tools, products out there. And so as a dealer or as a middle level manager, I could actually call on Ray to help me out with some decision making based on my actual inventory, based on my actual things that I'm trying to work through. And you might give me a couple good examples of how you've seen Ray actually, like, blow some minds. How do you see the dealers using it?
Yeah, so exactly how you're talking about, right? And so it depends on their function. I mean, it's everything from, if you've got a service tech that's wants to know the status on a certain part and they're sitting in the bay and they just want to know, they don't want to have to go back to their desk.
Ask
They don't want
Ray.
to mobile application, just, how many of this part do we have? And Ray can go and find that for you. Or if it's, a GM and they're in the middle of a meeting and they want to know what the current CIT balance is, you can ask Ray and Ray will tell you. You don't have to go and pull a report, right? So, in every way across the dealership, you see these examples where that easy, immediate access to information can be really sort of game changing for people.
How do you see the used cars managers using it? We're in such a big used car world right now, and I don't foresee this changing.
Yeah, I mean, so that's an actually kind of a funny story about how we got started with all this. So, I came, obviously, we built AutoVision, and that's really, huge emphasis there, obviously, is inventory and used cars. And about 2 years ago, we launched this AI product called Avery that would basically use all of the tools inside of AutoVision to say, hey, we have all of this data that's inside of AutoVision that's not available anywhere else. One of the things that we struggled with is how do we make that accessible to people who are kind of used to what is the price, what is the MDS,
Exactly.
or that car, right? And it's so much more nuanced than that, especially in a market like this. And so we built Avery to be able to say, hey, I'm going to go look at the 50 data points that matter, not the 5. And come back and do an analysis and give you an answer, and I'm going to explain it in plain English. And the first time that I showed that to somebody was actually at NADA 2 years ago. We were at the happy hour sort of afterwards, and I showed them an AutoVision demo, and they're like, this is great, but maybe it's a little complicated. And, I showed them Avery breaking it all down, and the guy literally dropped his beer. Like he caught it, but, kind of did one of these. And, that was a real aha moment for me for, how powerful AI could be if you can leverage these massive data sets and then produce, a very concise, clear, understandable line of thought and answer that makes somebody's life easier. And so that was sort of the progenitor of Ray, right? Just like Avery could use all the tools in AutoVision.
Right.
From Ray's perspective, AutoVision is a tool amongst all of the tools inside of the Reynolds ecosystem, right?
I love this, and it really makes me get to thinking about all of the different ways I would use this in a dealership. And I really feel that every role in the store could use this because we're accessing the DMS information. So I'm actually curious, can you give me like a special hidden feature that you've seen somebody leverage into their day-to-day and it becomes a repetitive ask of Ray that has really transformed the way that they even make decisions as a leader?
Yeah, great question. So we're launching Ray at the show. So we haven't seen people using this sort of day to day. I mean, I can give you countless anecdotes with Avery, like the one I just gave you, where it said, "Hey, I was going to pay 10 grand more on that car," and
I love it.
Avery noticed that actually there's a bunch of new ones that have just come on the market and they're underpriced. So it looks like, hey, maybe you don't want to pay that because even though market's here, MDS is here, looks like a bunch of lease returns just came back. So the price is probably about to drop, right?
There it is.
So we've seen those kinds of nuances with people using AutoVision with Avery. With Ray, the thing that I've seen over and over as we've sort of showed this to people and let them start to interact with it, the aha moment for them has really been, hey, wait a minute. So now I can cross-reference my data from my various different ecosystems to say things like, hey, what car should I buy at auction tomorrow? And instead of that just being based on all of the rich data that's in AutoVision about the market and what's happening there, can also go look at my historical sales performance, can also go my F&I and see what, my warranty penetration is, can
Mhm.
take all of those things into account and then look at my inventory levels and say, yeah, you're probably understocked on these 5 cars. These are things that you should go and focus on buying, right?
Mhm.
Or this is what your sister stores look like. You have this person sitting in front of you who wants all the money on a trade. Guess what? Your sister store 3 doors down. It's probably going to be willing to step up on that car because it's on brand. They can CPO it. Looks like they recon it fast. Ray can gather all of that data for you across all of our products and allow you to make a more intelligent decision than you'd be able to if you just only looked at one piece of it.
The level of time efficiency here is astronomical. And I tend to lead a lot of classes with owners and GMs and a lot of corporate. I work in a lot of, multi-point group dealership rooftop stores. And I just get to thinking from an executive level how great this might be to, kind of challenge it and be thinking how I might be able to get information that I need per store, bring it together even, and compile some data points for discussions, for meetings in the snap of the fingers. I have to imagine that you've noticed that dealers and managers feel a lot more confident in the answers that it's being given because it's coming from the DMS. And I'll just give you, kind of give you a little intel here. I was just teaching a class yesterday with a bunch of GMs at NADA Academy, and I have them do a lot of AI exercises. And I have to tell you, a lot of times they're very surprised at what GPT can produce. And many of them aren't even that acclimated, and some of them still don't trust it. I think when they first started using GPT, they went off the rails.
Yeah.
And
Hallucinated,
I think
right?
what's
Yeah.
that?
Hallucinated. I mean, that's
Right. It's hallucinating.
Yep.
And now I would say for me, I'm a super user. So I would say it's pretty good. I'd say it's smarter than everybody I know combined at this point. But, sometimes I think it's not as trusted because the information's more generic. But when
Yep.
you have something that is your data, it's your customers, it's your situation, surely the managers, the guys in the store, the dealers must feel a lot more confident to use a tool like this.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, that was a huge and you said something else too. I want to roll back
Yeah.
to.
Okay.
Anytime that Ray finds data for you from whatever platform, she also cites that data and gives you a link you can get straight over to whatever that report was.
Okay.
So that kind of accountability is
Oh, I
really,
like
really
that.
important. What the big difference between what we've done here and when we talk about, like, it's the buzzword, right? Agenic. What does that mean?
Right.
And what it really means, though, when you're doing it right and you're not just using the buzzword, is what we've done here. We've taught the AI how to use the tools, not how to create an answer, right?
Mm.
So she knows how to go find the thing that you're looking for and go and pull it back to you and present it to you. That thing is right because it came out of reverse risk or because it came out of AutoVision or it came out of the DMS. And she'll cite it and say, here's where it came from. What she won't do is try to make up an answer, right? She's going to tell you what's there. She'll explain to you what's there. But it's always, like you said, it's always grounded in that truth, right? It's always grounded in the actual data that's there. And building those sort of guardrails around it and that safety around it was really, really important to us. We had actually planned to launch this for pilots, at least back in the fall. And we put the brakes on a little bit because we decided that we needed to use our own models and we needed to run all of the infrastructure internally so that we could have control over that whole end-to-end process from a security standpoint, from a stability standpoint, all of those things. Reynolds has really leaned in on this idea, and we're running our own models, our own infrastructure, all of those things behind the scenes with Ray, which gives us that ability to say, this is a real answer inside of these boundaries. Here's where it came from. Here's how it's explainable, and all of those things so people can have trust.
Well, that's how you get adoption. And I always love the looks on their faces when they see something that is factual, that's being produced from their question. And I can only imagine what it's like when it's their actual data from the tools that they're using. So I work with a lot of different frontline. I work with a lot of managers in the service department, the sales department, a lot of BDC. We're talking leadership and usage. But
Yep.
I imagine that you've seen other frontline individuals be able to use Ray on demand. How do you see this being useful in a service advisor's day or a salesperson's day or a BDC's day?
Yep. Well, there's a kind of a simple catchphrase that we have used, which is, you shouldn't have to be a PhD in our products to be able to get an answer to that question. So, if a service advisor who spends all their time in one tool, all of a sudden one day has a question that they don't know the answer to, the ability for them to just go in and get that answer, if they're allowed to, is magical, right? So, where all of a sudden, every single day in and out as a service advisor, I'm doing this set of tasks, but something crops up. I need to know, oh, wait, didn't I see that Ford that we had? Like, I can just search it, right? I don't need an AutoVision. I don't need all these other things necessarily, right? I just need access. And that ability to make data transparent to whatever degree you want to within your dealership is really, really powerful, because then all you need to be able to understand how to do is ask a question.
Right. So essentially, I could be asking, what is my ELR? I could be
Right.
asking, how many missed appointments did I have today? I could
Okay.
be asking, how many people have checked in, to service today? Things
Yep.
like this, right? I mean, this is powerful because
Yep.
listen, we live in America, in the world, the real world. We need things like 0.5 seconds.
That's right. That's right.
And it is outstanding to hear of such a unique tool that is really very modern. It's very relevant, and I can see it's incredibly useful. And I can't believe you guys are value adding this to Reynolds Stack already.
Yeah.
What
Yeah. We
makes you
think
guys do that?
we think it's really important. We think that this is the future of software. This is something that we feel like our customers who obviously use our tools day in and day out and get all of the value that they get from us being able to help them to manage their dealership, to manage those workflows. They should have access to this data. That should be something that is easy, and so that as they use our products, it just becomes richer and richer in terms of its capability to provide data, to synthesize it, to take action on behalf eventually. So, we just really feel like that's an important thing for our customers.
I have to point something out too, because you got me thinking. I'm just thinking about all the teams I work with. And one of the biggest gripes in service especially is that they've always got 10 tabs open. There's always this like back end tool. There's always it, and they hate it. It's just a million logins. And there's so many fragmented systems out there that becomes, our worst nightmare. And it's just one more thing I have to learn. But that's also one of the neat things about this tool, isn't it? That it's not another login. It's not another tab. It's fully integrated, avoiding another dashboard, another login.
That's right. That's right. It's the software comes to you instead of you having to go to the software.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
That's
neat.
that's kind of how I look at it from that perspective. And you said something too earlier, Jen, that I wanted to circle back to. You're
Okay,
talking about
yeah.
the back office and or management level. I heard a really interesting observation from a customer the other day that was looking at this, who went, so wait a minute, so I've got all of these like strategic forecasts and trends and all of these other things that are a little bit time delayed because you do all this processing and all this other stuff, and then I've got kind of the real time, like what's happening inside of my database, like right this second, how many cars did we sell today. And in both cases, when I go to do my monthly meeting, when I put all that stuff together the night before, it's all outdated the next morning, right? So from the time that I hit print it, something else has happened. We've closed more deals, et cetera, et cetera. This allows us to bridge that gap where, we could see ourselves, sitting in a conference room, and Ray becomes an active participant almost in the meeting as we're going through and figuring out, like, where are we at right now? How did we do last month?
Great.
It really is, that fusion of, up to the second, where are we at? And, up to the minute or hour, or whatever it is, in terms of what do our long-term goals look like, our long-term trends, and being able to use that all in one place, in an easy way. We think it's really, really powerful as well.
Oh, I mean, it's remarkable. It's remarkable. It's very on brand with where we are as a society and where we are as businesses. And quite frankly, in fact, I was talking to a general manager this morning and we were talking AI and he said, is it really true, Jen, that if I haven't adopted any AI tools that I'm 2 years behind? And I said, the good news is that other people might have have gone all in the last 2 years and they've been figuring out some of the flaws. AI is still being birthed. It's still growing. But I said, you're not behind, but you must learn from everybody else's mistakes and the tools and how they were using them, how they executed it. And that's a whole nother layer. The tools work great oftentimes, but it requires humans to actually use them properly and deploy it properly in the stores so everybody knows what it can do. And that we're in sync as leaders with showcasing this tool in our meetings. So we have to bring more awareness to the usage so we can get the true value out of the product.
Well, I think you're 100% right. And I'll tell you also, we talk a lot about the AI aspects of Ray, but there's actually a couple other pillars here with what we're releasing. So inside of the Ray toolbar, we've also added the ability, first of all, you can ask Ray questions about how to use our products. So she can go get all of our documentation and walk you through and teach you how to use the software itself, if that's something that you need to know versus just, I need an answer right now.
Nobody wants to log into a webinar. Nobody wants to, take a class. That's why that's very relevant, guys.
She can also connect you directly, immediately to one of our technical assistant center support reps. Can jump into the thread with you, can see what you've been talking about with Ray. Not the answers, obviously, so that there's no sensitive data, but they can immediately see, okay, well, the user's looking at this, they're on this screen, they're in this application. So instead of that annoying, hey, what are you logged into? What's your username? Instead, that rep that you're talking to knows exactly what you've been talking about, where you are, has all the context to start answering your question if it's something not immediately from the documentation. And the last thing is, almost like Teams or a Slack for dealers. So there's an integrated messaging platform inside of the Ray toolbar. So now inside of all of your platforms, you can also communicate with your other team members. You can set up chats, you can set up groups, and all of this goes to your point, Jen, of how do you drive that adoption and get people using it? We want people to be thinking about, if I want to talk to my team members, this is where I go. If I want to talk to Reynolds, this is where I go. If I want to talk to my AI about my data, this is where I go. And so you just consistently go there and get all of the answers that you need to do your jobs, whether it's from documentation, from data, from colleagues, or from us. That just smooths the road across the board and you can focus on doing what you do best.
I think this is great. And I got to encourage the leadership that's listening to inject this into your sales meetings. I want you to challenge your teams to use the system by you executing a task and asking Ray to achieve it and producing the results and sharing it with everybody. And then allowing your team to do the same thing that's relevant to their day-to-day and see what the power of Ray can do for your store. It's one thing to get a new shiny object, a new tool, but it's another when it's so incredibly remarkable. The way that AJ is sharing it with us and the way that it was designed to help dealers and their team members get the information they need faster than running a report and accurate and up-to-date information, but we got to get the teams using it. And that's where this really shines, is when everybody can see the value of it. But there's no way better to do that than to just show them how you use it yourself. Right? There's got to be something that really surprised you as you've injected this into your conversations with dealers. As we end our time together today, is there something that really surprised you that dealers started testing, or, that you just noticed something that really surprised you about the product, even the power of it?
The thing that I had underestimated the most actually was owners and executive management. I got the comment very early from one of the folks that was starting to try this out. Who's going to love you? is my data analysis team. Because every time that I'm on the road or I'm on the treadmill or I'm on a boat or whatever it is, and I want a number and I want it in 5 minutes, they don't need to run 3 reports and pull a binder and blah, 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 and call me back. I can just ask and I get an answer, and they can go about doing what they need to be doing. So that one's I hadn't considered how much from an owner's perspective, who's probably never in the software, right, and is asking other people in their teams to run reports or to find answers, the ability to just immediately get an answer to their really important business questions, is huge.
I mean, this stuff excites me. I need to bring it down 10 notches because that's very relevant. Every dealer I know is going to be able to use it right there. That is actually, by the way, whoever's selling this thing, I know it's free for your dealers, but that's the moment right there. That's incredibly powerful because you're right. As dealers, they have hired on the best people that they trust and feel confident in, but the shop gets busy. The store gets busy, and it is hard sometimes to get the information that you need, and you don't want to know how to use all these systems. You're past that. That's why you brought on this crew. But to be able to just boom, ask the question like Siri, like Alexa, and get your answer that is tied to exact precision, precise data from your store. The sun has risen. I got to tell you, I really enjoyed this conversation. I love stuff like this. I like to see dealers adopting. You guys are doing some innovative stuff, and congrats to you. I know how hard it is to build a company and then to be seen by somebody as big as Reynolds and Reynolds and to be a part of their research and development, crew now. It's like you're running things. It's so exciting. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. Don't forget, my weekly live classes are designed to keep your team fired up, skilled up, and focused on results. Subscribe right now at edealersolutions.com. See ya!